Let's go right to White House correspondent Karen Travers and Austin Goolsbee, former head of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Obama, now an ABC News contributor. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for being here.
Hi.
Thank you.
Austin, let me start with you. There's been some debate over this bill costing too much versus concerns over not doing enough to stimulate the economy right now. What do you think of what appears to be the final agreement?
I think overall, the first thing you want to remember is this isn't really stimulus in the conventional sense. This isn't a regular business cycle. This isn't a jump starting of the economy. This is really geared to be relief money. And the way to evaluate that is it going to the right people and is it preventing permanent damage? So as I look at it, I think there's a lot of preventing of permanent damage and going to the people who've been hardest hit by the crisis. There's always going to be quibbles, on the margin. But I've said from the beginning, bigger is better and sooner is better when you're dealing with something that's contagious.
And so what about the cost of the bill? Are there any worries for you about how it might impact the deficit or inflation?
Well, as I say, I think if you're in disaster relief mode, the correct answer is, in wartime, win the war. In disaster relief, get the hurricane passed, fix up people's houses, and then deal with those matters. We're in an emergency where the worst thing you can do is to say, well, let's wait and see if we're going to need it. That's the mistake we made last summer when they passed the first Relief Act. And then when it was clear we were going to need more, they said, well, let's wait and see if it goes away. So I think the concerns about inflation, you've seen expressed by some economists. You've seen the chair of the Fed say that he's doesn't anticipate there to be that big of an inflationary impact, and whatever there is, he thinks would be temporary. So he's not inclined to overreact to it.
And Karen, so let's say the House passes this bill tomorrow morning, sends it to Joe Biden's desk. This is just a huge moment for him. He's going to be speaking to the country on Thursday night. When can Americans expect to start receiving those checks?
Yeah, that's the big question on the minds of millions of Americans, Terry. And the White House says that they should start getting those checks out as soon as the president has signed this, as soon as it's signed into law. But people will not get them until the end of the month. That's their goal, is to have these out by the end of March. They say they're moving as quickly as possible. They're working around the clock at the IRS to make sure that people can get these checks. If you filed your taxes electronically, it will be a little bit quicker. If you filed them through paper, it would come to you in the mail. We saw this last year, of course, with the checks that went out in the other COVID relief packages. Now, in terms of the president's timing, he said yesterday, as soon as he gets that bill, he is going to sign it. We expect that will be by the end of the week. And Terry, no surprise, as you say, this is a very big moment. This is the biggest priority right now for this president. It will be his first big legislative win. They are expecting that he will do a signing ceremony of some sorts to tout this, start taking a little bit of a victory lap afterwards. Our colleague Cecilia Vega asked today whether or not he's going to hit the road to try and highlight to Americans what they are going to get out of this bill, how it benefits them. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki wouldn't give any details about any upcoming trips, but certainly made it clear that is something they're going to do. All senior officials will be out there selling this in a way, which is interesting. It's already passed, but you still have to convince people that this was good, try and get some political mileage out of it.
And Austin, Senate Democrats agreed to shrink the number of people eligible for stimulus checks to get their whole caucus on board. So how much of this bill will be widely distributed, and how much of it is targeted only at those who need it most?
And that's a super important point. A lot of the public discussion makes it seem like the whole bill is just general checks that we send out to everyone. And those general checks that got a bit restricted in the negotiations are 25, 30% of the total. There's a lot of money in it that is more directed to, for example, parents, as well as a bunch of money that's going to vaccine distribution. You've got money going to small businesses. You've got the earned income tax credit, which is going to help low-income workers. So there, if you, as you might imagine, from something that's $1.9 trillion, there's a lot in there beyond just the headline checks. So I think the argument over who's going to benefit and who deserves credit for doing it, I think, is still to be played out.
And Karen, this is, as we've both said, this extraordinary moment for Joe Biden, the biggest moment of his presidency. What does it do for him politically, do you think, especially given that he got no Republican votes in either house of Congress? What does he turn his attention to next?
You know, Terry, polls have shown that this proposal is very popular among the American people. Usually it's about 2/3 of Americans say they think that, yes, the government should be putting this money toward people who need it the most right now. The White House points to that all of the time when we ask questions about the fact that Republicans did not get on board with this. Not a single Republican vote, as you say, in the House or the Senate. They really believe, when you talk to officials here, that they have the right political messaging on this, that the American people are behind them, and that once this bill starts getting enacted, once the money starts flowing, it's only going to be better for them. That's why you will see the president out there telling people, here's what you are now getting. Here is how this is going to help you. Republicans are, of course, pointing to the increase in the deficit, talking about how this is a liberal wish list and does things beyond COVID. But Democrats will say, yeah, it does, but that's okay. And we're going to try and take this for a little spin and tell everybody why this is a good thing for them.
All right, Karen Travers and Austin Goolsbee, we appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.